we are the biggest and largest manufacturer and sellers of sex toys in the world. Bias from individuals always come across as a problem. There was a director of engineering in my previous organization several years ago. I worked with him, and he had a great point of view on this matter, which is like bias will always be there. You just have to know yours so you can overcome them. The moment you get humans in the equation, everything becomes subjective. It's just part of life.
We are live on the Objective Hiring Show. Today, I welcome Jaime. Jaime, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It is absolutely our pleasure. And where I'd love to start is just to hear a little bit more about you. Who are you? Who are we talking to today?
Yeah, well, I'm Jaime, and currently the global head of talent acquisition and people analytics for the Love Honey Group. I've been working in HR and in recruitment specifically for about 10 years. Now I'm originally from Spain, graduated in psychology, and also have like several postgraduates and a master degree. So yeah, that's me on a glimpse. Living in Bali.
Living in Berlin, but I noticed you studied in Oviedo. Did you grow up around there?
Yeah. I'm from Mieres, which is a place which is about 20 minutes driving from Oviedo. And I lived most of my life in Gijón, which is the northern city in the country, in Spain. I studied psychology and two of my postgraduate degrees, and then another one in Madrid, and then I moved to London, and I studied there in Kingston University, London as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. I haven't been to Spain since I was 18. I miss it dearly. Saw some great football last time I was there. But just to show my age, Ronaldinho was still playing for Barcelona, so it was a long time ago, unfortunately.
Oh, definitely. I think it's like 2006, something like that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a while, but I should get back and I should watch a bit of Oviedo. They're probably in the Segunda División these days, are they? Oviedo?
We almost made it to first division last year. We lost in the last game when we got there, and maybe this year after 15 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Fingers crossed.
15 years? No, 24 years, 2001. Yeah.
My God, it's been too long.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Now, one thing I'd love to ask you about actually is what it is like doing talent acquisition and recruitment for a brand like Love Honey. That must make things very interesting, a little bit different. How do you approach it?
Yeah, I thought at the beginning that it would be a bit more complicated, to be frank. I thought that people would be a bit more reluctant to join the company. Not sure if your audience knows what we do, but we are the biggest and largest manufacturer and sellers of sex toys in the world. And I thought at the beginning that people would be a bit more reluctant to join the business or to have second thoughts when it comes about their career. What I found, and is more interesting, particularly from the point of view of talent acquisition, is that surprisingly every candidate comes prepared for the interview, knows what the company does, which is something I've never seen before. And then there is a bit of everything. There's people who is incredibly passionate about the topic and tells you a bit too much, which you don't really want to hear. And there is another vast majority of people who is just fine, and especially when they come to the office and they just see there's like any other place and any other business, probably with a bit too many dildos in the desks of people, but that's a different story.
More than the average office, I would have thought.
More. Well, I don't really know if there isn't a study about it. I'm not sure. Maybe we are a bit behind. You can never tell.
Now, would it be considered a red flag if a candidate asked about staff discounts in the first interview?
I've never heard. Well, I'm sure that many people thought about it. We do have a 50% employee discount in case anyone wants to know in advance.
Okay, excellent. That's good stuff. I feel like I could imagine doing recruitment for a business like Love Honey. I feel like that would add a bit of spice, a little bit of interest. And I remember vividly years ago working for a car parking firm in Australia, one of the two biggest car parking companies. And I used to talk to the guy in charge of marketing for the business. And I kind of felt sorry for him because this guy has to market a car park. What could be more boring than that?
It's complicated. It's complicated. We don't suffer from that. I think the only suffering we do is like people think like maybe it's gonna be fun all day, and then you come here and it's just It's just an office. You just have to do your job. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. One thing that has not changed in recruitment in a long time. In fact, I'm pretty sure Da Vinci came up with this. That is the curriculum vitae, the resume. He apparently produced the first one 550 years ago, and somehow it survived. It's like the cockroach of the recruitment world. Uh, what do you think about CVs? Are they still relevant these days? Are they ever going away?
They have to, yeah, well, sure. I mean, it's a bit of, this is a bit like having interviews. Do you really need to have an interview to get the job? Not really. You don't really need to. It's you don't really need to have an assessment. You don't really need to have anything to get the job. You can just know someone and get through the door and sign a contract. It really is the case. We put these barriers because we are used to do that. It's because we have that expectation, and the candidate has that expectation as well. The candidate expects that you are going to receive the CV, you're going to review the CV, and then they're going to have an interview. They're going to speak with someone, right? And maybe AI is changing that a bit, but they still speak with someone, and they think that someone is going to arrive to a human being at some point. So, are they relevant? I think it's just how it is, and I don't think it's gonna change. If you ask me, you can write whatever you want there. It doesn't mean that it's the truth. It's just to the eyes of the reader, and then we can debate endlessly about the formats and how it is. But I think sometimes it just takes too much headspace from applicants and from people about the importance of it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about the fact that it's just someone's opinion about themselves. I mean, I could claim to be a rocket scientist. It's hard to disagree at that point of reading it. You can't really verify it one way or another.
You can change many things. I mean, depends on the country as well, because then we talked about verifications, credentials, criminal checks or whatever, and then um, in the depends on the country. Here in Germany, you could probably say that you were director of, and then you were just a team lead, and no one will ever check, and that's fine. If you do it in another country, when they will send you a listing, and HR will have to confirm that actually that happened in that time frame, that's a different story. But what what you include into what you did, if you're a good actor, you can you can make it through, definitely. Yeah.
And so it's the case, what, in Germany, that like reference checks aren't a standard bit of the process for companies to do.
It's possible. There's nothing against that, but it's not really common, to be honest. I haven't seen it happening very often. I have the discussion comes around every now and then, like we should do this, we should do that, but it doesn't really happen often, that we do. Yeah. Also because of the validity of the same. Like there is the belief, which is probably true, that you cannot say anything wrong about a candidate when applying to a job in terms of references. So you just assume that they are never going to tell you what actually happens, so why to bother?
Yeah, I have always tended to agree. I've never done reference checks because I thought they were obviously very biased, because it's people the candidate is telling you to speak to, and then they'd have to be a bit of an asshole to actually go, you know what, I don't think you should give the candidate this job. Like, that's throwing them under the bus. So you're never really going to get the honesty. I wouldn't have thought either.
Yeah, yeah, but I agree. I agree. Like, and you can also think like if the person left, maybe there's a reason for leaving. Maybe the other person is bitter about the other person. It's just not fair. I don't know. It's a mix of feeling about the reference to the front.
And so you've said we could almost do away with the CV. Maybe we don't even need the interview. Maybe we don't need the reference. What would be your like bold vision of how hiring should be done then?
I know. I do believe that we should do all these things. I do believe. What I'm saying is like you could not, like in a scenario, I don't know, like catastrophic scenario, you could just say like, yeah, sign here, we're done, right? Which I'm sure many people have done it. But I have heard terrible stories, like I don't know, companies hyper growth looking for people to work in warehouses or delivery drivers, and it's like, do you have your credentials? Do you have your right to work in the country? Thank you, sign here. That happens. I do believe that you should receive a CPA, you should speak with a person, and in my ideal world, I will also pass some tests. some standard tests and try to understand a bit how the personality of the person, the general capacity of the person, as something more standard, more normative than the usual gut feeling that we usually have. I think that's the right thing to do for me. And to be honest, it's not a shared opinion and it's not very common. But yeah, it's my ideal world.
Not a shared opinion, so other people would view it in a different way.
Yeah. It's very especially in HR the view about passing tests in the sense of general intellectual capacity or personality test is not highly appreciated in the professionals of my area. It's more believe like they don't tell you anything or something like that, which or they are not fair, they are completely the opposite, in my opinion as well. Well, my opinion, statistically speaking, absolutely fair. So yeah.
Yes, I of course agree with you. Why is it? Do you think, on average, talent people, tend to favor what I'd call what I believe is almost like an obsession with cultural fit and sort of placing everything in that. Everything's about things that tend to be a little bit less measurable, and almost a distrust of things that are measurable, even if they're imperfect.
Measuring is complicated. Measuring and then telling people why, that I think that's the real problem. Because measuring is complicated. You have to understand a bit of what are you reading, how are you reading it, what is strong in the results, how to fit that profile into your job. So you probably will need to have prior to even submitting that test to a candidate an evaluation of what the job will be better suited for. So that takes time. It's complex to explain to hiring managers, hiring teams. It's difficult for them to buy in. Then you have to do with the candidates. It's difficult. Many candidates are reluctant also to pass through these stages as well because they also feel like it's not fair. Which again, I disagree. I think it's the right thing to do in terms of fairness. And then it comes a part of telling the candidate that are not successful. Why are they not successful? And sometimes it's also the misbelief that you have to tell them like you're not good enough because you got these results in a test, and that's a hard pill to swallow. If you ask.
It is. And what's interesting, if I think back to our experience in running a skills assessment platform for 6 years, we have a feature in our product which allows the company doing the hiring to either tell the candidate their results at the end of the test or not. So either they can get a thanks for doing the test and that's it, or thanks for doing the test, here's your full score, overall score, breakdown per skill, areas of strengths and weakness, etc. I've noticed that uh, candidates would rarely complain when they get that level of transparency and it's very clear, oh, I've scored 30% of this test. Here's how I've gone. I know I'm not getting the job. I'm not getting to the next stage because you've just explained how I've gotten this score. So I wonder if just being transparent and honest, and it's a very obvious scoring mechanism, maybe that creates a bit of the trust that otherwise might be lacking.
That could be. I would do the same if I was in that situation to share it with them. Like, hey, look, this is what you got. This is the situation, right? Like before even making a decision on the application. But I also have seen in the very few times that I got the chance to use this test that the candidate will say, "Well, I was having a bad day. Can I do another try?" And if the tool is good, then you can do again. That's fine. But if the tool is not great, then you're doing a test retest, so the person was already exposed to the test and it will do better for sure. So you're just testing how much the person remember about the test. No, so it's not really purposeful. But yeah, I will definitely share the results and stick to them to some extent.
What about this? I've had an hypothesis that part of the maybe lack of interest in what I call objective kind of measurement of candidates within talent circles is partly because the typical backgrounds of people who work in talent acquisition would rarely be hard sciences or data science or software engineering. Is that part of it, do you think?
I do think so too. I do think that the background of people, even also in HR, plays a big role on the acceptance of these tools, and fails to accept them themselves that is the right thing to do, and to see or to know from a theoretical or academic point of view how these can be of value for their work. And another one is that even if they are convinced, to then be the selling point for the organization to put them through, to explain the business how this works, why is this valuable, and so on. Yeah, I do believe that qualifications do not always match. If you work in HR, it's not necessarily that you have done psychology, which is usually where you come with these kind of assessments. You probably have done administration of law or something similar, so you're not even familiar with the concept. Yeah.
What about thinking more broadly about how to make hiring more objective? So we could talk about, having some kind of test involved. Any other ways you think about how to make hiring fairer and more objective?
There is several ways that you do. I think bias from individuals always come across as a problem. There was a director of engineering in my previous organization several years ago. I worked with him, and he had a great point of view on this matter, which is like bias will always be there. You just have to know yours so you can overcome them. And I think that's the right way to put it. Like, you need to know what will be your trigger and what will be your decisive factor, putting it that way, and then try to balance it. But you can objectively try to see. We are humans. The moment you get humans in the equation, everything becomes subjective. It's just part of life. Is gonna AI gonna fix it? I don't really know, because if any AI learns from AI, for what I see, tries to please you, and if it tries to please you, then it will try to give you what you want. So at the end of the day, it will be just you, but faster. So there's nothing really different there.
You made me immediately think then of what my own biases are when it comes to hiring, and I can share one specific example. I remember trying to hire a product analyst years ago, and for context, this was in the last company I worked at, and we had an indoor soccer team at our local university near our office, and we kept losing the grand final every semester. We were just like one good player away from winning. It was so close, and I was reading through hundreds of CVs, and you get the hobby section, so it tells you a little bit about the person. I remember reading that this guy was Brazilian. I like Brazilians. I'm just going to be honest, and he was a semi-professional footballer as well. So I showed his CV to my colleague sitting next to me. I'm like, oh wow, look at this guy. He looks amazing. He got an interview for that role, definitely, at least partly because he was Brazilian and played football, which is so unfair, right?
Well, I mean, at least it didn't go that far, like to be a full hire from the first instance. But these things happen. These things happen. Person X Y Z went university X Y Z, and I also went to university. I don't know. You try to to connect the dots, and then try to find what you think is best, and what things is best probably is biased by your own experience. So yeah, maybe you try to do that with the football player, like the Mr. Barnes in The Simpsons with the baseball team, something like that. Get the best ones for your own.
What about you? Is there any like particular bias you picked up on from yourself over the years, which you're like, oh, I always tend to gravitate towards this kind of person, so I'm gonna have to, wield that back in a little bit.
I think my biggest bias that I try to avoid is like messy CVs. This was like something like, if I see someone is like, I don't know, full of colors or like something like that, and then I have to like, okay, it's not about you, it's about a person. Read it twice and so on. So maybe they get even more attention. So it's twice a bias for that. I think that's the largest one for me. Other than that, I don't I don't know. I'm trying to be a bit varied when everything, or think twice. Like, what did I think that? What did I say that? And then try to balance it the other way around. So I try to give as much as I can a fair chance to everyone, right?
Yeah, thinking about it now, God, I rejected a lot of CVs that had typos and spelling errors. If I saw one or two of those, like, oh, low attention to detail, out. Uh, Maybe there's something to that. Like maybe there's, some logic, but still probably quite unfair.
I had a hiring manager who a CV was not a PDF, was a no go, and it's like, not really, like it's not what really matters. It's not something that everyone knows or likes or anything. I think these kind of things you have to be aware yourself that can be a trigger. Oh look, one that I really have is like when they put their names in capital letters because the ATS reach the capital letters and then I have to change the name by myself. So I'm already like, gosh, spending more time than I want.
Yeah, I remember actually an experiment we did years ago at Alupa where we got, I think 500 or 600 resumes that we'd gotten for one of our open roles. And we wanted to do a little bit of an experiment to try to understand how subjective resume screening was. So we got this set of resumes, gave them to 8 different freelance recruiters that we hired, all independent of each other. They didn't know each other. We didn't tell them they're an experiment, so it's maybe a little bit unethical, but still it was interesting. And we just asked them, here's the resumes, here's the job description, shortlist who you think we should interview. And they all came back with different answers. It was not even close. There was, I think, only one candidate that more than 2 of them picked. It was almost like flipping a coin. And behind the scenes, we also had these candidates' test scores from our platform, which we didn't share. And again, there was almost like a negative correlation between who they picked and how well they'd actually done in a test. So this just sounds like this doesn't surprise you at all.
No, I was thinking what you were saying that when I studied my master in Kingston University, London, we one of the lecturers introduced us with an experiment, and then we did also a test with the experiment, and it was like 4 CVs, right? And 4 groups, 4 CVs, and one of the CVs was how I'm trying to remember. So it was the same CV all the time with the same content, just with a female and a male name, and a female with masculine perfume, and a male with feminine perfume, and a female with feminine perfume, and a masculine with masculine perfume. Okay, those combinations were there. And then the experiment was like, okay, how would you recommend this for a job X? I think it was customer service, the trial we did, and the real one was, I don't know, mechanic or I don't know, assistant in the parking space or something like that, just to remember your previous example, right? And the experiment was like the masculine perfume, masculine name was the most suitable candidate, and then descending into feminine name, masculine perfume, like descending this way. And then ours was the other way around, like feminine perfume, feminine name, it was up, and then descending towards masculine, masculine. So these things happen to everyone. I can tell you. I've seen it live, and there's documentation about it that we all have bias for whatever reason. Yeah.
Yes, and I've seen a lot of experiments done at scale to really ram this home, especially investigating bias against particular ethnic groups. So there was one in Australia only 3 years ago that the University of Sydney did, where they got tens of thousands of CVs, put them into 3 buckets. First bucket had CVs that had a Anglo-Saxon first and last name. Second group had Anglo-Saxon first name, Chinese last name. Third group had Chinese first and last names. And then they applied to thousands of different jobs and then measured the callback rate. And long story short, if you have a Chinese name and you apply for a job in Australia, your chance of a callback is only 1/3 as high as someone with an Anglo name, which is so unfair. That's disgraceful, basically.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like the bias exists. You just have to be conscious about it. You just try to embrace them and overcome them. It's the only way. But don't ever believe that there's objectiveness all the time, everywhere, because it's not the case.
There is not. And I think maybe AI could be one way to solve it if implemented correctly. As you say, not just as a way to magnify your own biases and have 1,000 Tims out there screening CVs in the same stupid way. But yeah, how do you feel about the prospect of AI making things fairer?
I think it's great. I think it's a massive time saver. It's a great solution creator. I think, yeah, I'm all in with it. Honestly, there's no way back and there's no way around. I'm afraid. So we just have to embrace it again.
You can't hold back the ocean, that's for sure. Have you started to dabble in any AI hiring tools yourself?
Yeah, when we early days, we're talking about like almost 2 years ago when the first note taker came in. I already got it into a team. It's something we cannot really live without. I like the days down. It's a catastrophe. It's like no one wants to call anyone. So yeah, that was a game changer. And then generative AI for content creation when it comes about job ads or posting any kind of message or any channel or even reviewing emails, creating templates, things like that. It's just so much easier, so much better on a glimpse. I did try another video creation, for example, for websites and for onboardings, for guidelines explanations. I did some good progress, but it's just a bit more marginal, to be honest, than the actual talent acquisition bit. But note takers and generative AI, it works like a charm. Yeah.
So, for the people listening who don't currently use an AI note taker for their meetings, either for interviews or other kinds of meetings, what is the difference now? Because it sounds like it's light and day for your team.
Yeah. Well, it's just the time saving and it's the quality of the notes. We are moving from, I don't know, you just grasp some ideas, you put it down into your notes, and now it's like a complete text with every single thing that has been said. You can go back to them, you can ask questions to the tool, it will give you the answers you need. You can go back anytime that you need for, I don't know, 2 months into the recruitment process to find what was said here and there. So the amount of time you spend both reviewing your notes after writing them plus submitting them, you just do it in one click. It's just so much better, so much better.
Yeah, I remember doing research, maybe 2 and a bit years ago for an interview product we were building, and I was interviewing interviewers about how they interview. If I can say interview another time in a sentence. And I was amazed. I think something like 25% took notes with a paper and pen. That was only a couple of years ago. Where are those notes gone? Like, that's not useful for anyone at all. So if that's the way you're still doing things, surely the AI note taker, it doesn't do it perfectly. It's not the perfect transcript. So what? I mean,
No. And I've met so many people who did paper notes, like so many people. Sometimes it's like a step. They start with the paper notes. The thing is easier, and then they go to transcribe what they are listening, and that yeah, they do it with a Word document maybe, and then they use in the proper platforms. It's like every time till you get to the note takers, which is just simply much better. What can we do?
yeah, I mean, especially in an interview, because part of the challenge is if you're trying to take notes, is how can you take notes, listen to the candidate and what they're saying, figure out what you're going to ask them next, judge their body language, evaluate them. Like, what human can do all of those things perfectly? It's ridiculous.
It's very, I agree with you on that, and there is also the bit of there's some candidates who join the conversation is like, well, you tell them in advance, but they still ask you anyway, and they're like, what's this for? How it comes, and so I was like, well, I think it's better for you because this guarantees that I'm not gonna miss a single thing that you're saying. It's not gonna be my judgment. It's gonna be a neutral statement of your own evaluation of your words. So I think it's just fair for them.
Yeah, I agree, and a no-brainer. Uh, what about in the evaluations, though? Like, have you considered using some kind of, I don't know, CV screening tool, or perhaps in interview grading or like pre-grading their answers to questions or those kinds of things?
I for CB screening, I would say what I've been saying since ever. I really haven't seen anything that works. If there is something, I was told lately that there was a tool that tells you that's the grading, as you said. No? It tells you this one is probably the most suitable, and then scaling down like was the less suitable, and then it doesn't tell you anymore. Like it's just the grading of suitability. I haven't seen anyone that really goes and tell you this is your match, and then rejects itself. Maybe this is unethical, probably. I don't know, but I would love to would love to see that happening. That would be a great advancement. And I'll be happy if the tool gives me scales and gives me grades, not only or even comparing my judgment or telling me if asking me like what do I think and then telling me well I do think the other way around and then try to get an agreement. I'm always happy to get one point of view. I think it's just fair for everyone.
What about interviewer feedback? I feel like that's almost an interesting untapped sorry thing, because surely for at least several years, no matter how quickly AI advances, we still need to do human interviews, and there's a big spectrum of interviewer quality. I wonder if AI listening to the interview with a very clear set of criteria of what good interviewing is could maybe give that feedback.
I do think so. I do think so. Even it can be worthy for many things, even for training recruiters. If you ask me, at some point, like it's a great point to have an sparring partner who never get tired. You know, you can do interviews for days, and yeah, I think it will be great. It will be great. I'm not sure if there's any solution out there already, but I'll be happy to give it a go. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I often use AI to get feedback for myself on various things. Uh, and my perception is, maybe this is just me, but I'm willing to accept its feedback probably more easily than I am willing to accept some humans' feedback, because it's depersonalized. You know what I mean?
Certainly, yeah. I will also. I mean, I don't know when I have to send a message that I'm not. I can read already that the tone is not what I want to express, and then I pass it through. I don't know, ChatGPT. Like, can you soften these? I never, I will never take it bad. Whatever it tells me, it's like, okay, yeah, fine, you're right, no problem. So yeah, I think it's good for help us to improve as humans.
And what's going to be the challenge then as we start to get into hiring that's almost human and AI intertwined in the process? Um, what do we need to look out for? Like, where is this going to go in the next couple of years?
It's gonna. There's. I think the sector is contracting more and more. I'm not sure if that's due to economic factors also because um, at least here in Europe is not it's not as good as it used to be a couple of years ago. I can tell you that, and 3 years ago, probably more. And then these solutions come in, and they are cheaper than an employee. Are they better? Well, they will keep improving. I think coexisting with them is gonna be the key for now. And at some point, will be two kind of talent acquisition individuals. One will be the one who interacts with AI and works together with them, and probably AI takes 75% of the job in itself, but you have to have still like a human to verify that everything is running fine. And I still believe that there will be some kind of artisan, old-fashioned talent acquisition person who will do everything the old way, and that will be appreciated for what it is. It's Ferraris and there are Audis. That's okay. Well, they are great cars. You know what I mean. But there will still be one that will do everything artisan, handmade, and there will be other ones that will be like, yeah, faster and still pretty good.
I assume it would roll out, like AI would be used either more at the top of the funnel first, where there's the higher volume, or in grad roles where there's just a massive amount of candidates, and then it'll eventually get down maybe the funnel or into more senior roles later on.
I do think so too. That makes sense. I don't think either that a senior person wants to speak with an AI tool. I don't think so. So that also is the same game with the CV. Like it makes sense. But it makes sense for the candidates. Makes sense for the person who receives the CV. So it is the same for the kind of applicant. I'm sure that entry level role or a graduate, as you said, they will be happy to get a shot and then prove themselves, and then you can pick from there. And but I don't know, C level don't think that they will apply first. I don't think that the AI will reach out to them, that they will be happy to speak with. No, I don't think so. I agree with you on that view. Yeah.
My only counter to that would be, or my sort of devil's advocate to that would be, is it just a matter of time before we're also used to interacting with AI on a day-to-day basis in every bit of life, that then it's like, well, of course I'm going to speak to an AI recruiter. What's really the difference? Especially if there's this uncanny valley where this becomes so similar to humans, it's almost indistinguishable or is indistinguishable.
Yeah, well, I think that's the key that that's the key of it. How good are they going to become mimicking us? And if they become really really good, and then you don't notice a difference, and then you're interacting with them in the supermarket, you're interacting with them, I don't know, in the workshop or whatever, and yeah, then yeah, sure, and then you will not care because it's just your normal daily basis interactions, right? But I don't know how far are we from that. That's the key of it.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I was using ChatGPT just the other day as a language learning partner, and I was using the voice mode because I was showing it some paper and it was interpreting it, and it was so empathetic. Its voice was so nice. It was so friendly and kind. Like, oh, thank you. He's like, keep going. You're doing a great job. Don't be disheartened. Like, oh, thanks. Yeah, you did such a nice delivery. And, oh, yeah, I do feel good about myself. Thank you.
There's still a bit of a lag between when you speak and they speak back, and there's still a bit of, they don't really get yet how humans talk over each other, and then they think and they reply. If they get that at some point, then yeah, sure, the game is over. They will just do all these jobs, I can tell you.
Yes, and maybe the final normalization is when we have AI partners, the AI robots. I'm not sure if Love Honey's getting into that. I don't know what's on the product roadmap.
Not that I ever have. I know that companies do it because obviously that you hear about the sector and then how things are, and then there's like AI brothels and things like that. And I can tell you that things exist. Never don't have much information about them, and I don't know if we are working on anything similar to that. But and there's people doing it. I can tell you.
Yes, from what I can see, the main development is in Japan. I have seen, as always, I guess they're ahead of the game in some ways. But I did see a Deutsche Welle documentary not too long ago, actually, about a young guy in Japan who'd married his robot, not a not a sex doll, but just a small robot, and he had a wedding ceremony with it. He had a little veil on the robot, and they walked down the aisle, and he was carrying a leek, the vegetable. I don't know why, but there you go. That was all part of it. So it's a weird world we're getting into now.
Look, it is what it is, man. You have to give the customers what they want. Why? I don't know. It's a very different world from where I grew up, I can tell you. But well, we will see.
We just have to embrace it, I guess. But back to the hiring process. Like if you had a magic wand, or AI might be that magic wand, like what would the ideal hiring process look like? What would perfect be?
I would love, I would love AI to sort and tell me who are the right candidates. I would love to call that candidate, or someone from my team call that candidate with a transcriber, so we can get everything properly recorded, but still speaking with a person, and then sending them to complete properly standardized test about personality, general ability, and things like that. That probably AI can perfectly do and assist them through the process, because that will be also good for them to have some help through the process. And then finally having a conversation with the hiring manager of a senior member of the staff, and that's it. That would be great. Perfect combination of both worlds. I think that will work like a charm.
So the automation with AI, but still the human touch is not going away anytime soon.
Not for me, I hope. I need to pay bills, so I hope not. But cannot promise this is not going to happen.
And where is the biggest value out of humans in the process? Is it to really evaluate, can this person work in this team? Is it the sort of cultural fit thing? Is it what is it?
From the point of view of the talent acquisition, I think it reverts more on the candidate side. The value is the human engagement. Like you have another person in front of you, and that the person's human who is working there, can tell you things about the place, cannot tell you in a standardized pitch about what's happening in the place, will tell you about how it is, no? So it can tell you a bit more of a truth of what's going on here, or the truth, a subjective truth, which probably we like more when we're talking with other people, more than playing an objective reality. And then for hiring teams or for hiring managers, I think the contact with a human is better to understand the actual reality of the job and to settle expectations on both sides. I think that's more valuable. Are we gonna have robots managed by AI here working and they will be better telling the job? Well, that's a different story. But right now, there's an actual person who sees on a daily basis how the office is and can tell a bit more how things are. Yeah.
You mentioned telling the truth or the subjective truth. I've always believed that hiring could be way better if both parties, both sides of the equation, were just as brutally honest with each other as early as possible. Do you agree, or do you think there should be more of a dance?
I think so. I think. Well, I love the dance. I will not lie to you. It's a bit like tell you a bit, you tell me a bit, and then we roll around, and then then you discover some truth, and I will also tell you some truth, and you will also tell me some truth about how you are, and then that's the beauty. It's like romance. It's the beauty of it, not to tell all the bad things from the beginning. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it will work. If people will tell, I don't like this, I don't do that, and in 6 months I'm gonna tell you this and I'm gonna tell you that, rather than leaving a bit of mystery, Because if you leave a bit of mystery, then context change you, and then you evolve with the context as well. Your truth at the moment might not be your truth in 6 months' time. No?
The company can change you, or you could change the company maybe if it's small enough and you're big enough.
Yeah, you have to change always. You want something to change around you, you have to change yourself. So yeah, you never know. I think then truth. What's the truth? It's complicated. I think the dance is more entertaining. Not sure if AI can do the dance. That's another stuff.
Yeah, my kind of desire for the transparency maybe is coming at it from a data nerd perspective, where I feel like there's got to be some perfect way where if you just collected enough data about the candidate and you collected enough data about the job and the company, there's some kind of hypothetical perfect matching where it's like this is the right candidate for this job. They've got a 99% match. Happy days. But maybe we're a long way off that.
Well, there is if you check statistically what are the not even the perfect match, is the best indicators of future job performance. It will be general intelligence, consciousness, and emotional stability. That's three things. And the best situation can tell you 60 something percent of future job performance. That's what they can unveil for you. And there's nothing better. Interviews, it's minimal. It's like a 2% or something like that in the best case. And every other CB is point something. So, is there a world and you can really do like, this is a perfect match, this is a perfect employee? I don't really know. Many people have been trying for a long time. If you can unveil that truth, that would be great. But you will break the mystery for everyone.
You mentioned there that what I would have thought is, what should be reasonably well-known science of what actually predicts job performance, which you've just laid out. And you've also laid out the things that don't predict job performance that much, which is the things we actually use. Why is it so backwards? I don't understand.
Because it's expectations of people. It's just what people expect you to believe. It's what I tell you. If you do this test of general intelligence, and then you do a big five personality factors, and then you get consciousness, and then you get the emotional stability, and then you can predict 60%, and there's nothing else that can be even close to that. And the next close one to it is proof of past work, like a portfolio or something like that. Most people don't even have, or will never be able to show you because it's patents or things like that. So you have these three, and you tell people you don't even have to send me a CP. I don't need that, right? So you just do this test, and the ones who get the highest marks, then you get the job. I will be the fairest thing ever done. And statistically speaking, it will work better than anything else. But yeah, we still rely that probably what I told you before about context. Context has a toll on everything. So yeah, you have that, and then you have this prediction of this 60%. The other 40% is what happens next. And when the person comes in, that they like the people, they interact with people, and it's like thinking about the colonization of Mars. We are not there because we don't bet each other after a long time, not for anything else primarily. It's because after sometimes we just need to argue, fight, and enter a war. So you never know how it's going to be the context when you put people together.
I wonder if it's also like a risk aversion thing. So if you're a hiring manager and you've got a choice of interviewing someone 4 times or 0 times, at least if you interview them 4 times, you can kind of say, well, I did the due diligence. I tried my best. They didn't work out. But if you go and hire someone never having met them and they fail, you will probably look like an idiot.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Also, like the lack of the need for choosing, the need for doing a choice, to pick a choice, then that's also a problem. Like people hesitate about it. Like depends. It takes some time to be sure what you're gonna do, and then first is what you say, which is like perception of the others about your selection, and then is actual effects of your selection, which is cost, problems associated with your team, and things like that. So yeah, I can understand. Yet still, if you have done these 3 tests, then it will be better. You will be sure that is the right choice. So
It's a weird world in many ways. Jaime, if you could ask our next guest any question about hiring, what would you ask them?
not hiring. What do you value the most, performance or results?
And how are you distinguishing performance and results there?
Performance is the action that lead you to a result. No, like I'm performing the movement of my arm, but my result is I graph this, right? So my choice, if I was to answer that one, is for me, is more performance is more important because you can modify performance, but results are given. You cannot change them.
Excellent. It almost reminds me of the book Atomic Habits and the way the author lays out his philosophy there. Yeah, if you just keep adjusting what you're doing day to day, eventually the results will come. It might take a long time, but
You cannot change results. Results are there. It's done. There's nothing you can go back. But performance, you can modify your performance, and then that leads you to different results.
excellent. Well, I'll ask that question to our next guest sometime next week and see what they say. Jaime, it's been a great conversation. So fun and just relaxing and enjoyable and easy and funny and insightful. You've given us everything today. Thank you so much.
Very very grateful for the time. I had much fun also, and I hope people enjoy it as well. So yeah, thanks a lot for having me anyway.